Good morning and welcome to a Homespun house. My name is Molly and I am very excited to share all of the things that I have been up to this past week, be it knitting, dyeing yarn for a homespun house, because I am the creator of a homespun house. I come up with all the yarn, dye all of the yarn, all of the different creative ideas for a homespun house. And I'm just really excited to share with you everything that I've been up to this week. Unfortunately, for me, there has been absolutely no sewing this week. I have 2 more weeks to get my sewing done in time for the first Advent. Can you believe it? First Advent is in 2 weeks, which means December is in 2 weeks. And the first Advent is on the 3rd of December for those of you who don't do Advent. And Christmas is in 6 weeks, which just blows my mind. I am usually in such insane Christmas spirits. I am, don't get me wrong. I don't feel any Grinchy feelings or anything like that. But generally, I am listening to Christmas music, watching Christmas movies, going crazy thinking about decorating the house and making it very Christmassy and festive. But this year I've really tried to hold off, and that's something that I have battled with so much. Is it a good thing to wait? Is it a bad thing to wait? Who knows? I guess I'll see how it is this year. I'm trying to wait though until the 1st of December. Why I need to have a specific date, I don't know. I'm trying it. We'll see how it works. So I have been doing some Christmassy knitting. I'm knitting a pair of socks for Elodie and Ruby for Christmas. I'm using Mustache sheep yarns, and actually it's just Mustache yarns. And I'm using her colorway Calaveras. So I was completely wrong last time. It's a 12 striper, a 75 superwash merino, 20% nylon and 5% stellina. Fingering weight yarn for sure. It's 436 yards for 100 grams. So it's the first time I've ever used Mustache yarns, and I really, really like it. Her base is the same as most other stellina bases with that 5% stellina. Just a 2-ply twist. Very round, plump, gorgeous. I have Elodie's finished, and here I used, as I mentioned, one of our littles that I dye up for the shop. I brought a little package of littles to show you guys, just to kind of see how they come. I have a huge abundance of littles that I just grab when I'm dyeing them up for orders. So here's one that I will be sending out tomorrow for a person who ordered 10 just random littles. And I lately have been really enjoying grabbing those for heels or just little contrasts in pops of things. So this is the one that I'm using in here. This really reminds me, last episode I said that it's not really a colorway, it's quite one of a kind, but it is very, very similar to the Homespun House Bohemian colorway, which will be popping up in the shop this week on tweed, gold stellina, and plump merino. So that looks very similar to this. It's lots of different tones of mauve and kind of gray with a bit of deep, deep berry in there. It's a really beautiful tonal colorway. But I adore the Mustache sheep self-striping yarn. Her transitions are beautiful. You never have a section where you feel like anything is too muddied together. Even when you have colors like here, like the orange and green together, it looks stunning. So the reason why I decided to do the Fish Lips Kiss Heel here is because I really wanted to keep the stripe sequence going with these socks. So I knit these the same exact formula as I knit the other pair of Elodie socks, 54 stitches, I did 20 stitches at the end to Kitchener at the end. And yeah, they don't match perfectly. I think they're one stripe off, but that's completely fine. I know Elodie is not going to mind, so I'm very excited to have these to gift to her. I mentioned this last episode, but I know that some of you are new, so I would really like every year on the first Advent to give the girls a pair of comfy hand-knit socks and a pair of cozy pajamas. So I'm not going to show you the fabric this episode again. You can go back to the last episode to see which fabric I will be using for those Christmas pajamas, but it's a Riley Blake really sweet snowman fabric, and I'm going to make some zipper up jumpsuits with that, or onesies, whatever you want to call them. They will not have feet though. They will be long sleeves and long arm. So I would like to give them a pair of socks and a pair of pajamas. The problem is I really need to get on to making pajamas now, because none of Elodie's warmer pajamas fit her. They fit, but she probably has about this much extra skin hanging out on her legs and her arms. So she's grown a lot from last year. But she needs new pajamas, and I have quite a bit of fantastic fabrics that I have purchased. All jersey fabrics, 95% organic cotton, most of them with a 5% elastin, I think is what it is. So I would like to get 3 pairs of pajamas sewn up for her. But first, definitely the holiday or winter themed ones. And I'll be using that same fabric for both of the girls. I hope that I have those to show you next week, finished. So I have started. I used almost an entire 50-gram skein for these. This is a size 33 child's foot. Elodie is very tall, and she has quite large feet because she's so tall. Robert is 6'5.5". I'm not sure how tall Elodie is at all, but she and Ruby are both very tall. Ruby is only 2 years old, and she wears a European 27, so they're both tall girls. I'm not. I'm 5'5.5". For those of you who are so curious, because I always find it really fun when you don't know people personally to know how tall they are. So, that nonsense information being said, that used almost 55 skeins. I have the teeniest ball left over that's in with my granny stripe blanket. Again, I'm not going to show you that until I have quite a bit of progress on it. I'll probably show you guys that next week, again, I hope. So it was, I think it wasn't even 2 stripes that were left over from that. So I know Ruby's will use a little bit less, because I did have her try Elodie's socks on, and she just needs 3 stripes less than Elodie. I think I'll make the leg length almost just as long. Maybe I'll do 2 stripes less, but I want to make quite long, cozy, cute socks for her. These socks that I knit for Elodie went up to her knees. So that is really cute. The stitch count for Ruby is pretty close to the same as Ruby, so I decided to go for, I think I did 52 stitches, so I think I just took 2 out of the sock. Next time that I knit Elodie a pair of socks, I will go up to 56 stitches for her socks, because I think that's a little bit better of a number for her on a size 2mm needle. I'm using Knit Pro Zings, and all of the bags that I'm using are the same as before. This is a bag from Danny of Little Bobbins, one that she and her mom made, and they made this one extra special for me for my birthday, because they know everything that I love. The beautiful pine trees, the special little house, which kind of goes along with my logo for a homespun house. It's just absolutely beautiful and stunning and special. And because both of the girls are obsessed with cats, I have to have the cat cozy in here from, again, Danny of Little Bobbins. After last episode, I received so many messages about where to get these needle cozies. So they are from Little Bobbins. She does not make needle cozies that often anymore. Maybe if enough of you private message her or send her emails through her webpage, DM her on Instagram, although I know that DMs tend to get extremely lost. That's one thing I want to mention before I forget. Please, if you have questions regarding anything, any purchase that you've made, anything regarding a homespun house, please go over to that contact form at my webpage, www.homespunhouse.com, and please write it there. I have people who often get a little bit angry because I don't respond to their DMs, but having a business, you get so many DMs per day that it's very, very simple for a DM to get lost or muddied up between other DMs. DMs meaning direct messages. So it's often that I don't see it, and it's not that I'm ignoring you, it's literally that there are so many messages being sent via Instagram that it's easy for those to get lost among other messages. So if you email me, there is no way that I will ignore those messages. So I just wanted to put that out there. But the needle cozies, I love them. I use them for anything that I'm knitting double points on. And they're just beautiful. Danny makes them fantastically. I love the size of these. And I love the quality of them. So she picks the sweetest fabrics. So I have finished the cuff on these, and again, I just started at the top of the cuff because this was an OCD skein. Her first pair will perfectly match Elodie's. I was thinking, because I work full-time, Robert is a stay-at-home dad. He's an actor as well. That is my husband, Robert. That's his job, but he mostly stays at home. And because that's an actor's life. And I was just thinking, after he washes these, he's going to have such a hard time pairing the girls' socks together and figuring out who is whose, because he already has such a hard time with the laundry. I will go through the girls' drawers and find always Elodie's things in Ruby's drawer and Ruby's things in Elodie's drawers, which always baffles me and is just hilarious. Because they're so different. So I don't know. Anyway, I can just imagine the time that he's going to have with these. So for Elodie's, I did a 4-stripe cuff, and for Ruby's, I'm just doing a 3-stripe cuff. That just made sense to me. I think I'll stick with that. So again, these are Zings 2mm needles. I love them. These are my favorite DPNs. The carbons were my favorite for quite a while, but the Zings hands down are my favorite DPNs at the moment. So for Ruby's, I will again use this last bit of this 20-gram little for her. Just the heels, I won't use that for the toes. So I'm really happy. I'm so, so happy to have these finished. Now I just need to knit Ruby's pair of socks and sew up 2 pajamas in 2 weeks, which is definitely doable. That will be the main project that I need to be working on when I have a bit of time. I wish that I could work on those during nap time knitting, which I've mentioned before, or bedtime knitting, but the risk of the girls seeing those is so not worth it. Robert's playing with the girls in the hallway, and we have this very long hallway that the girls are now going up and down on their scooter, or Roller, as you call it in German. Speaking of nap time knitting, oh my goodness. I hoped that I would remember these. So this shows how much nap and bedtime knitting this is. One evening while we were in bed, I had finished reading, the girls were laying down, and I was laying in between them. And Ruby was fiddling with this. It's like just a little finger thing. You stick your finger through it and you kind of play with it. It's like a little finger puppet that has eyes on it. So anyway, Ruby was fiddling with this and Elodie was playing with her bracelet. So I was like, no, those have got to be put away. It's time to go to bed, time to relax, time to listen to mommy sing. So I put them away, put them in my bag, and I will now take those out so that as soon as I'm finished podcasting, those can go back to the girls. So anyway, this is my knitting that I do as I sing to the girls while they fall asleep after we've done all of our fun bedtime stuff. So, yes. My wonderful Harry Potter themed knitting. So in my Maker's Haven bag, I love that one. I would love to see another Harry Potter themed bag from her because I feel like you could take it so many different ways. So many different ways. I have another Maker's Haven bag, which I think I should pull out. I think I'm going to have to swap one of my project bags with the Maker's Haven bag because her bags are definitely one of my favorite brands. I would say Maker's Haven. I love the Fawn and the Fox. I love her wool felt project bags. That's one that I always have, and you've heard me talk about numerous times. And I love Maker's Haven and Little Bobbins, like I said. I would say those are probably my favorite. Maker's Haven, Little Bobbins, the Fawn and the Fox, wool felt project bags. So, today is a rambly day. You guys are the first people that I've really spoken with this morning. And I am definitely a talkative person, so you're gonna get a ramble today, I'm guessing. I am knitting Mermaid of the Black Lake on Plump Merino. This is in a Homespun House colorway. I just decked the shop out in Mermaid of the Black Lake on all bases. So if you want it, go ahead and get it. And then I was toying with the idea of doing a little again for the heel, and then I just kind of started to look through all of the skeins that I had skeined up for my Penguono, which I finished and showed you last week, and I saw pop art, and I thought, you know, that has that really just pretty, that has those few specks of gold and just that really pretty mustardy yellow, but it also has those beautiful pops of, again, just this pretty winter berry and pink and green, purples, turquoise, reds, just so many pretty different colors that I thought would pair wonderfully with the Mermaid of the Black Lake. I think it is such a cool pairing together because it kind of has the same tones, but it doesn't at all. And I think I love the pop art colorway. This was a colorway that was inspired by a conversation that I had with Danny forever ago. I don't even know when I dyed this. It was definitely over a year ago. Danny from Little Bobbins. But anyway, yeah, so I put pop art as the heel, and I will do pop art again at the toe. I am really hoping that I have enough Mermaid of the Black Lake. This is all that I have left, and I'm only halfway into the foot. So I'm wondering, I think I'm going to need to weigh this and then weigh this. I think it's time to get a scale, just a teeny scale for yarn, because I could use my cooking scale, I guess. Why not? For baking. I think I'll grab out that baking scale and see, because this almost doesn't seem like enough for me. I can't remember how much of it I used on my Penguono, but seeing as though I knit quite a long leg here, I'm not sure how that's going to work. But I also have my Dobby with his sock from Simply Serving. There are almost no more Harry Potter spots left in the Harry Potter Yarn and Charm Club with Simply Serving. So that went live this week. I'm so excited for it. I really love all of the charms. All of the themes are awesome. So awesome. One of them is extremely dear to me. I think there's going to be one really special colorway. For me, anyway. I don't know how those who have joined the club will feel about it. For me, the Harry Potter yarn clubs, oftentimes you definitely need to be a fan to enjoy the charms, because they're not just like, you know, when I was doing it with Sucre Sucre, it wasn't just like a cake, a cupcake, a piece of food, you know, like her standard wonderful charms that she does. It was always very particular to specific themes that happened in the book, special things that happened, like the journal with the basilisk tooth that I did, and just the gillyweed that I did that Dobby gave Harry before the second task. And they're always just specific themes. So with this club, again, they're very specific to things that have happened in the book, or movies if you enjoy the movies. Sometimes the pop culture might be a bit different than what actually happened in the movie as referred to the book. I almost always keep it to what happened in the book rather than to the movie. So just keeping that in mind. Although images may be grabbed from the movie. So I love Harry Potter. I could go on about Harry Potter for a while. You can see my wonderful little Harry Potter Funko Pops back there. Speaking of Harry Potter, I haven't cast on these socks yet, but I did have our Harry Potter kit go live. When was that? It had to have been, it was yesterday, Friday. And they all sold out wonderfully, beautifully. Thank you so much. It was such a fun kit to put together. It came along with these beautiful Harry Potter themed bags made by Danny, again, of Little Bobbins. I did go ahead and take this one for myself. She made it specifically an extra one for me, so that's very, very special. And it came with some DPN cozies, again, which I love. It comes with some minis from past Harry Potter clubs that I've saved, and beautiful brooch, a darning needle, a chocolate frog charm from Sucre Sucre Miniatures, and then a beautiful map of Hogwarts. It's just was such a fun kit to put together, and I'm very excited for the holiday kit with, again, Danny of Simply Serving, Danny of Little Bobbins, Lindsay of Simply Serving, and then Courtney from Northerly Goods. I also have so many other, I'm sorry, it's not Simply Serving, it's Sucre Sucre, Chelsea of Sucre Sucre Miniatures. So there are so many other goodies in there that are not from those people. They're all things that I have gathered from the Homespun house, and a set of 10 20-gram minis, and everything else is a complete surprise. So this kit will not be photographed. You will literally have a fantastic surprise, and it is truly an amazing bundle. I know that you will not be disappointed. Oh my goodness. That comes out the 27th. I want all of you to have it for Christmas. So those of you living in America, it should take 2 weeks to get there. So you can pop that under your tree if you're gifting it for yourself. But any knitter, any friend, yourself, a loved one, there is no way that they would not love this gift. Jam-packed, amazing. So that totally went off on a tangent. Like I said, I'm rambly today. So speaking of Harry Potter, I have this fantastic Harry Potter themed bag by Danny of Little Bobbins. And I will be knitting up my Christmas at Hogwarts yarn. I don't know if I'm going to do purely this yarn. I am currently staring at some barley, some mini skeins that I've dyed up of barley, and I feel like this would be absolutely beautiful for cuffs, heels, and toes, or just cuffs and toes. I will have to think about that, but I saved this for a skein of this for myself in BFL. Those of you who joined the Christmas at Hogwarts, this is going to be a club that I'm going to do every single year, I've decided. I think it will always be called Christmas at Hogwarts, but the yarn will always look different. There are so many different things that you can pull from Christmas at Hogwarts, and for me, I just think about all the rich tones in the Great Hall. This skein is so Christmassy. It is those pine greens, the red, just that Gryffindor kind of maroon colorway with the golden in the Gryffindor, green for the Slytherin for sure. All of the different houses are represented a bit in here, but I just think of the deep, rich, beautiful tones of the way that the Great Hall looks. So I just imagine basically their dinner, their Christmas dinner at Hogwarts, and that's kind of where this skein was inspired. Even talking about it now, I could go off on so many different colorways that I could dye up for Christmas at Hogwarts, and jot down some ideas for next year. Although I know next year, it's an entire year away, I'm going to come up with some complete new inspiration. But I love this colorway. For those of you who received it, I dyed it up on numerous bases. It was a surprise of whether you got Gold Stellina, Plump Merino, Soft Sock, Plump BFL, and I kept the BFL for myself because I haven't knit up any socks in our BFL base, and I am obsessed with it. I think it will make a fantastic pair of socks, and I recently purchased a ton of the Plump BFL to dye up for the socks. So if you want to leave any comments below or message me via the webpage, the contact page, of anything that you would like dyed up on the BFL, I am extremely happy to do it. I do have quite a lot of wholesale orders that I will be doing the rest of November. But I will be alongside that dyeing up yarns for the shop. So these will be socks for myself 100%. I don't normally have a person in mind when I'm knitting up socks, but Christmas at Hogwarts, I really want some Christmas socks. And with Amy Florence and Stacy L. Stone from Stress Knits and Stranded, I really want to knit up some Christmas socks. And of course with Christmas coming. So I'm excited to knit up some Christmas at Hogwarts socks. And I need to figure out which Progress Keeper to put on there, because that's always half the fun of knitting up some socks. So I've definitely got to figure that out. Which Progress Keeper I'm going to put on there. I do have some Christmas themed Progress Keepers, and I'm going to show you one right now. So I think that one will need a Harry Potter themed Progress Keeper. But maybe Christmas. Maybe I can somehow tie a Christmas charm into Harry Potter. So the socks that I'm knitting for Robert, I had started doing a Fair Isle design on these. I ripped it out because I was not happy with the color that I was doing. I mentioned this last episode. As I'm talking, I'm realizing that I mentioned it. So I'm going to have to rethink my color. I spoke about recreating the Dale pattern because it is written for such a strange gauge. When I was knitting socks, I was knitting them at 56 stitches on a 2.5 millimeter needle, which now I realize is way too loose. And those socks that I knit fit for sure, but I like my tighter gauge socks much better. I'm so much happier with them, even though they take a lot longer to knit because I have so many more stitches on a smaller needle. They're definitely worth it. So these are socks that I'm knitting for Robert, and I have a Simply Serving Progress Keeper on here. I love this one. It is a little plate of cookies, and she made this really beautiful. There is a snowman cookie, a little peppermint. It looks like a peppermint bark, but almost like a peppermint bark cake because there's like a chocolate at the bottom. I've never made peppermint bark before, so maybe that's a standard thing that you do. You do a layer of chocolate with like the white chocolate and peppermint on top. I'm guessing that's probably right. She has a reindeer cutout cookie and then a really sweet fudge brownie. I adore it. Lindsay's charms have my heart. They really, really do. So many of you as well have written me that you've gone over and checked out her shop, and I'm so happy because she is fantastic. Love her and her charms. She just came out with a new color work mitt pattern as well, so go ahead and check that out. It's absolutely beautiful. So speaking of color work mittens, Ellie from Skandier, her first glue comes out today for her holiday mittens. I have joined. Have you joined? If not, hop on it. Everybody is knitting her Cebu mittens. They're absolutely stunning. I could definitely see knitting a pair in the future. We'll see how this one goes. I've seen her other patterns. They're beautiful. She is working on a pattern. I don't know if it's come out yet with a reindeer on it. And that's more of like a big bold motif rather as kind of smaller motifs on it. So I just can't wait to see how this one comes out. I have not decided on what colors I want to do. I won't be able to work on that today, which is such a bummer because the clue comes out today, and maybe I'll have to make time during nap time today to work on that. Adod doesn't normally take a nap. She actually never takes a nap during the day, just Ruby does. Unless she's not feeling well or didn't sleep well the night before. So basically never, which is lovely because that's always our time that we do something special together. Just have an overload of game playing, play with Playmobil together because Adod and Ruby both love Playmobil. Just kind of, spend a good 2 hours doing stuff together. Even if it's just lounging, vegging out, watching a movie, which isn't what we normally do. But sometimes that's just what you want to do because, as I mentioned last time, Adod is really into crocheting and knitting and weaving and embroidery. Her embroidery blows me away. So yes, the mittens. Tangent. So I haven't decided completely on what I want to do for that. I do have some ideas in my head. So Ruby's walking around with her stroller and her babies. I was thinking about these two colors. This is in the Dale base. I think the Dale base would be so beautiful to knit these on. It is a 100% non-superwash, super fine merino, and I think it would be absolutely beautiful. So this is the Fruit Loops colorway. I haven't dyed this up in quite a while, but I'm thinking I need to add it to my dye schedule next week because I really love it, and I think it would be really pretty on like a base that's better for socks, because I would not use the Dale non-superwash superfine merino for socks. It is just way too soft and delicate. I wouldn't recommend it. I have a pair that I've knit with these, but I've never worn them. Maybe I should put those into my sock rotation and see how they work before I say that I wouldn't knit socks with them. So this is Fruit Loops, this is Starry Night. I think this could make a really cool pair of colorwork mittens. I love the pair that Kristen from Volan Vine did with like, I don't know what colors it was. It was maybe like a brown colorway with different tones of brown, and then a variegated, I think it was a speckled kind of more bare base with just pops of speckle. Those were stunning. But when I look through all of the Fair Isle or Colorwork mitten pages, I honestly really love the pair that have a bare colorway along with some sort of blue, just because that is so, in my eyes, traditional Scandinavian or white and red. Those colors just scream out to me. My grandma has knit so many Norwegian mittens and colorwork mittens, and those are the colors that she very often knits. Tones of blue, just the Scandinavian blue, and a creamed white colorway. So I could see doing something like that. There are quite a bit of different shades of blue up in the shop right now under the tonals section of yarns, so I might go ahead and pull one of those. I think I'm going to have to go and look in the shop for all of the different blues, and maybe just grab one of our fresh sheets colorway, which is a creamy white. But I do think these look really pretty. I did initially grab these two, but I definitely don't think this is enough contrast at all. But as I mentioned, I have dyed again because people love the barley colorway, so I went ahead last week and dyed up more barley, and there's barley on all bases. You guys have got to check this out on Stellina. It's stunning. It's so beautiful. So yeah, I'm really excited to cast those on, and I'm hoping that I can find a bit of time to cast those on today. First, I have to figure out which yarn I want to use for that. I wish I could like take you guys with me and show you all of the different pairings. Maybe I could do an Instagram live today. Anyway, so these are the socks that I'm knitting for Robert. And I'm knitting this out of our 70% superwash merino, 20% non-superwash cashmere, and 10% nylon. So these are a lot of fun. I'm going to have to put these on hold until I find a colorway that I want to use for that color work on here. And I have this in my Luli bag, which has pine trees on it, which is perfect for the pattern that I'm knitting. And yeah, I would love to have these finished for Robert in time for Christmas. Oh, I'm knitting it with Zing's DPNs, or Magic Loop, so circular. And but I already have the pair of socks that I've knit him out of our Collins colorway with the ash heels and toes. So it's not a big deal if I don't finish them in time. Those are the socks that I've been knitting on. Another thing that I completely forgot that I have been working on, I don't know if it's 1 or 2 years now, but I have a pattern that I wrote quite some time ago called Foraging. I think it must have been 2 years ago, called Foraging. And they are these beautiful lace mitts. And it maybe was even 3 years ago, to be honest. And I really, really adore this pattern. I have one finished. So it has this really pretty lace edging in the front, and then it has this just pretty kind of fanned cuff up here. I like it. You can knit the cuff as long as you want. I like quite a long cuff, so mine's probably 2.5 inches long, could even be an inch longer. And I like my mitts very fitted, so you can see this one fits me very well. And this is out of, I think, either the first or second yarn that I've ever dyed up in my life. I love it. I have no idea what colors I used to dye this up, but kind of have a little bit of an idea. But it's an absolutely beautiful tonal, variegated rather, blue and green and brown. It's a really pretty colorway. I don't have anything like this in the shop. So I have the second one finished. Of course, the ends are not woven in, and I just have the thumb to knit. Why have I not knit these? I have no idea. I've had quite a few people as well ask me to write up a child's foraging mitten, which, as far as my alpine pattern goes, who knows when that will come out. I'm so busy with so many things right now. I don't know when I will have time to work on patterns. So I'm very sorry for those of you who have been looking forward to that. But yeah, I just have a thumb to knit and then ends to weave in. So I really want to work on that. This is all of the yarn that is left for these. Whoops. So it is a good thing that I just have a thumb left to knit because there really is nothing left. The colorway is unnamed because, like I said, I do not have any colorway that's similar to that. It was one of the first skeins that I dyed. So yeah, I would love to get those finished. I have been working quite a bit on my featherweight cardigan. I am really enjoying this knit, and I'm really looking forward to wearing it as well. I have been enjoying so much knitting and making things for myself that I can wear in my everyday life. I have been wearing my featherweight all day. I took it off right before I podcasted. I'm not sure where I put it. The one that I knit out of Wool and Vine yarns in her fairy hair colorway. And I wear it all the time. It's not a like scruffy looking cardigan at all. It doesn't look frumpy, especially because I knit it so that it's a little bit fitted. I mean, it definitely has, it's not a negative ease garment, but it fits nicely, and the colors that I've chosen with the fairy hair is quite elegant looking, and then with the ash colorway, which is a Homespun house, this is just a piece that I can wear all the time to have that extra layer of warmth. So the other one I knit out of, like I said, Wool and Vine in her fairy hair colorway, and that was an MCN base. I believe it is an 80-10-10 base, and this one I'm knitting out of again is the 70-20-10, so 20% cashmere. And yeah, I've knit quite a bit on this since we last spoke. Here I have again my Simply Serving Progress Keeper, and I have the little Gryffindor cupcake here, and this is how much I've knit. For a cardigan, I feel like it's quite a bit of progress because there are, a bit of stitches on the needles. I'm using Knit Pro Zings, and I'm using a 4mm needle, which is the size that I'm using for the body, and then a 3.5 I will use for the ribbing around the neck and then up and down the collar and the bands, the button bands, which do not get buttoned or do not get buttons in the pattern. It's just an open-faced cardigan. So from here on, I have joined my yarn in the middle of my work, which was not the best idea. I wasn't thinking. That's okay. I will weave those ends in, and you will not be able to notice. So from here on, I've joined my second ball. Because I dyed this yarn in the same exact batch, I made sure that the colors were very, very similar. You can't make it so that yarn, even tonals, look exactly the same when dyeing up hand-dyed yarn. It's impossible. Every single skein is completely individual. So when dyeing up tonal yarns, because it's not a flat, solid colorway, you're still going to get that variation of color in different spots. But this looks like it is the same exact colorway to me. I feel like I did a pretty fantastic job of blending the two yarns together. I did not knit this, one row, one color, one row with the other. But I definitely recommend that when knitting with a speckled yarn, for sure, 100% to knit 2 rows with the first skein of one colorway, and then 2 rows to knit the second skein up of that same colorway, just so the piece looks a lot more cohesive, and then you don't have a garment that has 2 or 3 pieces that look quite different from each other, just because that's the nature and the beauty and the wonder of hand-dyed yarn, is that every skein is very individual and special and unique. I know that can make it a bit frustrating when knitting a garment, but somebody took a lot of time to dye that yarn, and you're spending a bit of money to buy something that special, that I think it's definitely worth it to alternate your skeins when you're knitting with speckle hand-dyed yarn. The next thing that I have been working on, and I believe is the final thing that I've been working on, is the shawl that I've been knitting up for my sister. This is a really special shawl to me. I am knitting it out of my Maker bag, which is made by Busy Bird Bags. I think this bag is beautiful, simple, elegant. I really like it. So I'm knitting this out of my own yarn, and this is the Road Trip Shawl by Kemper Ray, the second one that I've knit, and I'm having a lot of fun with this. So I have knit this much since our last podcast, and this has been just a really special knit for me. My sister is somebody who I am very close with. She is one of the most important people in my life. I think a soulmate doesn't have to be somebody who you're involved with romantically. I think a soulmate can be a friend, a sibling. It can also be, somebody who you are involved with romantically. But I definitely feel like my sister is one of my soulmates. And so we have a really special connection and relationship. And she has been going through a really hard time for quite a long time. And she was just recently in the hospital. I have been working on this for a little while. While she was in the hospital, we were talking a lot. In times when I was just really thinking about her, I just knit away on this, and I just thought, I want her to have this soon, because I can't be there for her all the time. And that can be hard. So I decided that this would be something to knit that she can wrap around herself and just squeeze and hug when she feels like she needs it, when she feels like she needs a hug, when she feels alone. So this has been a really special piece for me, because I know that it will mean so much to her. I know it's just a piece of fabric, but it isn't just that. It is something very special and full of love. I put a lot of time into the dyeing of this. These are her favorite colors. This is my puddle jumper colorway. There is quite a bit of this in the shop as well. I was just knitting with it and just putting that energy, like I said, into her and into love for her. And I just wanted to dye up all of this yarn. And she loves dark gray, so ash works perfect for this. And I can't wait to get this finished and to send Amy out a huge, massive hug. So I'm really looking forward to this being with her. I'm probably only halfway through on this, so I've got to get working on this so that she can have it in time for Christmas. She knows I'm knitting it for her. She's very excited to have it, and that's why I changed out my stitch marker and put this beautiful heart progress keeper on here from Amber of Maker's Haven. So this is a very special, very heartfelt knit filled overflowing with love. That's what I've been knitting on. I have really enjoyed knitting this past week. I have really enjoyed knitting. I've enjoyed crafting, and it's just been really, really comforting and wonderful. Knitting is just so magical and good. So I'm really, really happy to have it and to be able to work on all of those projects, and to have those special gifts to give people that you know will keep their feet warm for my little girls. I know they'll love those pops of color in the sock, and I know Robert will enjoy his cozy cashmere socks, and I know that my sister is going to adore squeezing and cuddling up to her special shawl. I did want to show you some of the yarns that I'm really in love with for the shop. This is the Puddle Jumper colorway that I just mentioned. That is my sister's favorite. I dyed up a lot more of the Salmon Gilly colorway because you guys have been loving that, and that's been so awesome because I'm happy to be able to offer a beautiful speckly goodness of greens in the shop. And as we are all inside, well, it's freezing outside, at least here anyway, feeling warm and toasty by our fires or with our hot water bottles or cherry pit pin cushions, rice bags, I wanted to put up a lot of warm and toasty in the shop because we just want to be warm and toasty inside with our loved ones, by ourselves, with our pets. So this colorway is perfect. I love it. It has so many different tones of fun speckles in here. I have all of these dyed up on all bases. One new base that I want to show you guys, I am beyond excited about this base. I have been looking for a new singles base because I adore singles. I've knit a shawl with singles before and I really enjoy it. That was a 100% superwash merino yarn, which most shops have in their shop. They carry that 100% superwash yarn in their shops. But I wanted to find something super luxurious and something that is just so fantastic to knit with and to dye and to touch. I had to walk around my house and let everybody feel this because this yarn is pure heaven. It is my new merino yak singles base. It's fantastic because it's 120 grams, so you get 480 meters. And I feel like this base is going to be so warm and cozy to knit up in the fall, winter time. It is 65% superwash merino, 20% yak, and 15% silk. Does that sound like pure luxury? So I have dyed this up in 5 different colorways, and I will be putting up shawl kits for this. There are so many beautiful 3-colored shawls out right now. I love all of the shawls that Helen Stewart from Curious Handmade has been coming out with. She does have, she just came out with in her knit vent a 1 skein shawl. I feel like even though this is for a 3-color shawl, you could use these colors for so many different things. You know, you could use 1 skein for a shawl because it does have that 480 meters. So you're not getting a teeny tiny tuch of a shawl. So I will show you the colors that I've dyed. So I've dyed up Indian Sari, Ash, I've dyed up Collins, And all of these colors show up very different than, normal yarns because, for example, ash is a non-dyed base and is an undyed base. So it's that very white color with these speckles on it. But because of the yak in here, the main base of the yarn is a very nutty brown. It's beautiful. And then the silk in there adds a very sterling silver sort of shine to it, which is beautiful. So I have those three, and then I have Bohemian, and then I have Starry Night dyed up on here. So there will be 4 different combinations of these colors up in the shop. You can go ahead and pick which one you want. Those will be up for the shop tomorrow on Monday. Also, you guys, I mentioned last week that we would be getting woods in the shop. It is now for sale. So you can add these to your orders. Like I said, this is my most favorite knitting publication ever. The next sweater that I cast on will definitely be from this book. I am going to and have decided to knit the Salva Bailin, I have no idea how to pronounce that sweater, by Jessica Gore. And I love it. I decided to do this one, so I'm really looking forward to it. I think I will use some local German wool to knit the pattern, and I'm going to cast that on as soon as I finish knitting my featherweight. So let's see what size of needles that will probably take too long. I'll have a look at that afterwards, but all of the patterns in here are absolutely beautiful. I'm not going to go into a full review of this because I kind of did that on my last podcast. And I think if you watched that, you will see that I'm obsessed. I would not be surprised if I knit everything in this book at some point in time because it is fantastic. I'm so excited and proud to have this in the shop. Some of you have already picked yours up, but if you haven't, go ahead. We do have a flat rate fee of €6.50 no matter what you buy. So if you buy a book and 10 skeins of yarn, that's all that you pay, €6.50. I have had such a wonderful time chatting with you guys about what I've been knitting, what I've been working on, and I really look forward to speaking with you guys next week about what I've sewn, for sure. Oh, I also have plans to sew up Adodie a little project bag because she knits, she never uses anything, she doesn't really need a large project bag. So I kind of would like to sew her something along the lines of this size. Could even be 2 inches smaller than this because her crochet projects that she works on are quite small. She's currently knitting a pair of leg warmers, which she's been knitting for a while, but she just has these massive project bags. I don't have any. This is the smallest project bag that I have, and this would not be to Adodie's taste. She is very particular about her taste, to be honest. So it is hard choosing fabrics and things for her, but I think a project bag would be okay. But that's something that I would really like to sew up for her as well for Christmas. So maybe when I'm sewing up those project bags for the shop, the holiday themed ones, I will cut out and work into that sewing time a little project bag for her. So yes, hopefully next week you guys will see some wonderful sewing, knitting, and fun yarns that I've been dyeing. Also, I am going to start dyeing up sock sets that will always be in the shop. I have done sock sets quite often for clubs, but those are always one of a kind, and I want to have just some sock sets that you know are there. And yeah, I already have one in the dye pots right now that needs to be rinsed and soaked and hung. So I'm very excited about that. I cannot wait to show it to you guys next week because it is one of my new favorite colorways. So until then.